She plays a mentalist in a new upcoming TV series, The Evil Tan House. Joining me on the Slices podcast with Jason Pelligra is actress Erika Smith. Hey everybody, this is Jason Pelligra. Welcome to the Slices podcast. On my show today, the lovely Erika Smith. How you doing, Erika?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And we were just talking about your backdrop and how much about. So okay, well, that's truth be told. While we were just prepping for this interview, within I'd say about 6 sentences, Erika was able to pick up on the fact that I am Canadian. So kudos to her. That was
Yay.
Yeah, yay. You did it. All right. So we're going to talk about a lot of your career and how versatile you are. But where else can we start? But where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a small town in Massachusetts called Carlisle. Let's see. It's near Lowell.
Okay.
If that helps anybody, where the fighter was, Darren Aronofsky's movie. And it's about an hour out of Boston, England.
Right. So what was your childhood like? What was little Erika like?
Well,
we're going back.
Sure. The town I grew up in was very, very small, about like 3,000 people. We had we had a dairy farm, we had a cranberry bog, and little Erika was very, very bored there. And I was a big reader, and I read the book Gone with the Wind when I was about 12. And I got curious because I loved it so much, and I had heard that there was a movie about it. So little Erika rode her bike to this is creepy. I was talking in the third person. I rode my bike to the library, and I rented the movie Gone with the Wind, which was made in 1939. And I was just like, oh my God, it was so fabulous. They just brought the book to life so well. And Vivian Leigh was so beautiful. And Clark Gable was so hot. And it was just so cool. I was just like, oh my God. And that's what started my love of movies and classic Hollywood, specifically. So I just got like intrigued, and I just started reading all about the medium and how it began and early silent films, and I just was so curious. I wanted to watch all that stuff, and so I did.
So you read the book before you saw the movie, but you read the book before you even knew there was a movie?
Yeah. Wow. I was a big reader, and I remember it was the summertime, and my family would, like, my parents would take a couple weeks off in the summer to go on vacation, and I was bored. And sorry, Mom and Dad, if you're watching this. But and I remember just in the back of the car, and I read that book in 5 days. I read like 200 pages a day. I just blew through it. It's like that book is 1,050 pages. I still have it. It's bad taste, right? This book is like this book is canceled.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
For now. Yeah. So okay, so then let's fast forward. How do you get out of Massachusetts and become a performer, an actress, and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I think my point in telling that story was that, living in a small town and not having a whole lot of stimulation, that's what my imaginary world and watching movies and all of that became how I entertained myself and my passion. So then I also I loved literature, and I loved music. I started listening to Bob Dylan when I was about 15, and I read all about him and how he started in New York, and he played in the West Village and stuff. And then I became obsessed. Like, I had to go to New York. I had to see it.
Yeah.
I had to be there. So I went to New York, and I went to all the places that I had read about. And so around 18, I convinced my parents to let me move there, and I started to go to school there, and I moved to New York at that point. And I didn't tell them that I wanted to be a performer. I was really shy, and no one in my family is a performer. So I just didn't have the balls to tell them that that's really what I wanted to go and pursue. But I went to school and I started studying on my own, and I studied music in school. I studied opera and jazz, and I started taking acting classes and paying with my own money. That I didn't tell them that I was doing it. And I was waitressing and all of that. So then when I graduated school, they were like, so you're going to get a job now? What are you going to do with a music degree? And I'm like, well, guys, I've been going to these acting classes, and I want to try this. Just give me a year to, explore the acting thing. And they're like, okay. And right out of acting school, right away, I got a job in a play, a classic play, Ibsen's The Doll's House. And I got the role of Nora, which is so juicy and so challenging, because it's, it was written 120 years ago, I think, or more, 140 years ago. And so the language is heightened, and it's about 100-page play, and my character was on like 95 pages. So I had like 3 weeks to memorize all of that.
Wow.
And so that was my first gig. And
did your parents get to see it?
No, but I sent them the poster, and they still have it. It's framed.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So okay, so so did you do a lot of theater, or was that like just kind of how you kind of started?
Yeah, I did a lot of theater, and a lot of like black box theater, avant-garde theater, weird, like the Fringe Festival, like experimental theater. We would like do the first act in the parking lot and make the audience follow us, and and then a lot with music. I was singing a lot in those things. And then also at that time, I was doing student films and short films and anything I could do. A lot of mostly non-paying stuff.
Okay. So going by, looking at some of your films and stuff, I think the first film listed on there was a film called Bite Me. So how did you get that role? Like, was that a student film, or was that
No, so actually the very first like feature I did was not Bite Me. It was Hotties.
Oh, okay. So that was first. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
And then there was a sequel. So I mean,
which we shot at the same time. So
okay.
The way I used to get jobs before I ever had an agent or manager was Backstage newspaper would come out on Thursdays, and I would go to the newsstand and I would get it, and I would circle the jobs that I was right for, and then I would cut them out, and then I would write a cover letter, and I would staple my headshot to a resume, which just had my acting class on it, and put it in a manila envelope and send it away. That's how we had to do it in those days. There was no click this and click that. So that's how I got Hotties. And Hotties was like a 2-week shoot. There was no script. There were just beat sheets. It was a comedy. And a 2-week shoot, like $500 for the entire 2 weeks. And within that 2-week span, we were shooting the first one and the sequel at the same time, like Lord of the Rings style.
That's
And I was one of the 3 leads, one of the 3 hotties.
Yeah.
And on that film, I met the other 2 leads. One of them was Susie McCoppin, and she, I don't know if you know her work, she also goes by Julian Wells. And she was doing a lot of B movies and horror movies. And when we were on the shoot, she's just sitting around in her negligee, because of course that's what we were wearing, and it was a sexy comedy, and so she's just like, oh, I can't believe I'm working all these long hours and doing this shoot for $500 for 2 weeks. I'm used to making $500 a day. And me and the other hottie, Caitlin, we were like, how do you make $500 a day? Like, doing what? And she's like, well, I work for this movie company called EI Cinema, which is also called Pop Cinema.
Mhm.
And so we're like, well, can we do that? And she's like, yeah, I'll get you an audition. So she got us both auditions, and that was the company that put out Bite Me and
Mhm.
several of my early films that I was in, because they like to use the same actors over and over again. So
Yeah.
I auditioned, they liked me, they put me in Bite Me and a few other movies.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so I'm just thinking at this point, and then early on in your career was the Sexy Adventures of Van Helsing,
Hmm.
and you were the lead in that.
Yes, that was
Was
another. Mhm.
sorry, was that one of the films from that company, or was it a different?
Yes.
It
So
was.
yeah, so they came to me like a year or so into working with them, and they said, we would love you to do this role. There's a lot of comedy in it, and it was technically under their Seduction Cinema label, which is kind of soft porn. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to do those kind of movies. And they're like, no, 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 you're just the comic relief. So I was like, all right, I'll do it.
Okay. Okay. So now you do this film, and
There's more to the story though. Like,
oh, okay. Go on. Go on. I do.
I
Sorry.
don't know. I got too shy to tell the rest. But
No, no. I'm gonna be asking you some questions. So don't forget about being shy.
so they were like, when I got to set, they were like, oh God, talk about me too. One of the guys comes up to me, the line producer, and he goes, listen, you're the lead of the movie. It's a sexy movie. You're not even doing any nudity. Can we just get you topless? And I was like, I'm not, okay, my parents are definitely not going to watch this interview. So I was just like, what? I thought I was the comic relief. I thought I wasn't doing that. And they're like, yeah, but you're the lead. Like, come on, the fans are going to be really, disappointed. So we haggled back and forth, and eventually I agreed to one boob. One
Okay.
boob. So yeah, that
All
which came
right.
during a nightmare. So
Okay. So, okay, fair enough. So at that point, that was your mentality, and and you were on set, you committed to that. But subsequently, then after, were you more comfortable with that decision, with being in those types of films, or was it just something that every time you did it, it was just hoping to kind of progress forward into your career, or were you able to find some enjoyment from being in these films?
I loved being in those films. Oh my God, it was so much fun. I loved that there was a fan base that
Hmm.
followed my work and that waited for those movies to come out. And I love, because the movies were so silly. I have like I love doing comedy. So
Hmm.
it let me play and be silly, and it was a great experience. It was just, I was living my dream. I wanted to shoot
Yeah.
movies, and here I was doing it. Didn't matter that they were small little B movies. And I never did anything. If I ever did sexy scenes or any nudity, for me, if it had to be story driven, it couldn't be silly. I couldn't look
Hmm.
stupid. It couldn't be exploited. In my mind, it had to make sense in the story, because, even though these were not really high quality movies,
Hmm.
the movies that I like, there will be some nudity in it, and
Yeah.
it'll be beautiful and raw and real. So I tried to, no matter what kind of movies I did, I always tried to make sure that I brought my best work to it.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Okay, but as time went on, you got a little bit more comfortable with being nude on film, because you have been nude several times. So at that point, were you just a little bit more like just open to it? Like, was it hard to just kind of dip your toe into it, but then after you were okay with the content, as long, like you said, as long as it kind of made sense with the film? But I mean, a lot of these films, they did have quite a bit of nudity throughout. So like, you were okay with that, and it wasn't something like you were just kind of doing, you enjoyed it.
Well, it's not like I enjoyed it for nudity's sake.
Hmm.
it was never that I was really shy, with the exception of the movie Sinful, because I did have a love scene in that. So I was nude, and it was a love scene. So you're dealing with another actor.
Yeah.
It's intimate. So that was awkward. But it was never a matter of me not being comfortable. I'm of a free spirit. Like, I'm not shy like that. But it was always about my career, because I wanted to be taken seriously, and I didn't want to be pigeonholed, and which wound up happening anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, it may have, but I do. I mean, you really are funny. Your performance is like you really have a gift for comedy, and so when I watch these films, I mean, sometimes they're there's questionable acting, sometimes there's questionable cinematography. A lot of times your scenes really popped, and it was because of you, and it was again, like I said, whether you're playing comedy or not, you also were a talented actress, and it showed in these films. And that's kind of why, like, I think when you were doing these, well, when you were in a lot of these films, like Bite Me or Van Helsing, I really believe that, like I said, your performance really rose above even what the film was, and that was kind of cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm not always complimentary, but I felt the need to, like, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about these films, in the sense that, like, they look, I mean, they definitely look low budget. How much, like, what kind of budget are they working with usually on some of these independent films that you did earlier in your career?
Less than 50,000
Less than
a film.
50,000. And what
And
about, sorry?
we would shoot them in less than 2 weeks, and often, like, I was only needed for like 4 days
Yeah.
for a film. Yeah.
So what were the productions like? I mean, you kind of, remarked, Me Too there. Were were the productions, on the up and up, or were they a little bit shady when you walked onto set? Did you feel safe?
For the most part, I felt safe. I mean, with EI Pop Cinema, I did several films under that umbrella, and I got to know everybody in the offices there, and everybody in the crew, and was often working with the same people.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so everybody did their best. Remember, we didn't have the Me Too movement yet.
Mm.
So people were just, I didn't feel like they were trying to exploit me.
No,
You
you
know,
didn't get that.
no, no, no. I didn't get that. They were just doing what, business as usual.
Mhm.
There were some other production companies that I worked for that I did feel like, uh, yeah, people were trying things. I don't want to say who they were right now, though. Is that okay?
Who were they?
Yeah,
It's
I mean, it. I mean, oh, yeah. There was this one. I did several films for them, and I was on this one, and my character didn't have any nudity in this, and we were shooting the scene, and the producer came up to me, and he was like, "This again is not with EI. This is not with Pop Cinema." He came up and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna need you girls to take your tops off in this scene," and I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because we haven't had nudity for 26 minutes at this point, and these movies you don't need to have nudity every 26 minutes, blah, blah, blah," something like that. Like, situations like that
Mhm,
would
mhm.
happen. But yeah.
Do you have any or witness any nightmares on set, like, in regards to not just necessarily sexual content, but like, just, given the small budget, the intimate cast and crew, was there ever a scenario or anything that happened where you were like, wow, this is heavy, that you could share?
Well, on Hotties, we were shooting in a bar and the regulars were there, and we had some nudity, not just me, but a couple other characters, and they didn't bother to clear out the bar. They just wanted us to shoot with the regulars there.
Uh,
That was and
like,
again, that was my first film and the first time I had done nudity, so that was a little like, whoa. And nobody stuck up for us, and there were women there and on production, but I don't know, they were like in a rush. And
yeah. So if you were to go back now and do it all over, knowing what you do and the way things are now, you think things would be a lot different?
like if this Me Too movement had already happened and I was older and more experienced and somehow able to take all of my wisdom back.
Well, yeah, I guess just the scenario now, it's a little bit different. Do you feel moving forward? Do you feel that things have improved from back then?
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. They
Yeah.
have. They
So
have. Yeah.
that's
I
good.
mean, I did some nudity and intimate scenes on HBO's The Deuce, and they had an intimacy coordinator, which is a thing now. And apparently everybody knows about this because they've lampooned it on SNL, the intimacy coordinator thing, and
Oh,
also on The Undoing. So they're very, very careful. They have basically intimacy coordinators are like a team that will choreograph the scene almost like a dance. So you know exactly what you're doing, and they coordinate the costumes so there's no contact. They make sure there's no contact, and they talk to you. They bring you to the side and make sure that you're comfortable, and all of that.
that's good.
So yeah, it's definitely improved. And then just with, if I was able to take my wisdom back there, I don't. It's not like I don't regret anything that I've done, but I think um, there was always a part of me that was like nervous. Like I wanted to keep a good reputation and keep
Hmm.
things going smooth, and I wanted to work. But knowing what I know now, not every film matters that much.
Hmm.
You see I've done like 50, 60 films. Like it would be cool to have walked off set when that guy like
Hmm.
upset me. That would have been great for my self-esteem, and it wouldn't have hurt my career, I don't think.
Yeah.
Um, or just put my foot down. When you're making 100 a day, 150 a day, you don't have to do those things. You can just
Yeah.
say no. What are they going to do? Find somebody else?
Yeah.
Probably.
Were you frustrated though that these B movies kept coming your way and that you weren't able to transition out of it? Did that get frustrating for you?
I was frustrated by that. Yeah. And I had, because the novelty wore off after a while, and I was getting offers that, it was like at best 200 a day. And for that, sometimes the scenes were ridiculous. Like there was this scene where I was supposed to be getting out of the shower, nude, of course, and then a ghost attacks me, and you can't see the ghost, but I'm fighting the ghost nude. And it's like $200 a day. I'm just like, this is just not, I want to do good work. I want to do
Hmm.
work that I'm proud of. And this is just, I don't want to do work for some guy beating off in his basement. That's not why I'm doing this career.
Yeah.
And so there was some time, and there was another time I was like haggling over whether a nipple would show. And it's just like, these are stupid conversations.
Yeah.
And around the same time, I was like being interviewed to be with a big agency, and the female agent was really fighting for me, but she had to clear me with the other agents on the team. And ultimately, they decided not to take me on. And her reasoning was that I had done so many of these B movies and I hadn't been able to get to the next level. So as an agency, they didn't see me as a lucrative
Hmm.
client because they just figured I would be doing more and more of these B movies and not able to break into like network television or
Yeah.
or something like that.
Not
So
understanding that there could be the transition for you there to do that.
yeah, but then ultimately, like, I didn't even have to stop, make a decision to stop because I got into the union.
Hmm.
And once I got into the union, that stopped me from doing a lot of these B movies because most of them were non-union. So
Yeah.
I didn't even have to like say put my foot down and decide not to do them anymore. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
Um, and I was able to eventually get an agent and that fought for me to get the kind of roles that I wanted and the kind of projects that I wanted and get those auditions. And
Hmm.
so now I do get those auditions.
Cool. Yeah, I was gonna actually ask, were there any in your early days, but were there any films that you auditioned for that were like bigger that you didn't get, or were you not getting even the calls to go to those auditions at all?
I got big auditions. I got an audition for the movie Blow, but
No.
and that role they went with a name. Like sometimes you're auditioning
Yeah.
like a lot of soaps I auditioned for, but then the roles would go to people who had been on soaps before.
So you were
Um,
still getting good auditions though. You were getting some calls that, you were really trying to.
yeah, eventually I did, and then I got some really good indie movies, and I got the parts that were not B movies. They were legitimate indie movies, and my character had an arc, and
Mhm.
things like that.
So if you were given a choice, you would love to explore your comedic side. That seems to be that where you really kind of have your passion, you comedy.
Yeah, I feel most confident in comedy,
Yeah.
and even when I'm trying to do, even when I'm doing drama,
Hmm.
I always look for the comedy. I mean, there's plenty of comedy and drama anyway. There's dark
Yeah.
comedy and stuff. But growing up, I always loved comedy. That was something that I just one of my passions since I was 8 years old. I watched SNL and I just love it. Makes me laugh,
S-
clearly.
So, and it's funny because like, yeah, I mean, as some of the stuff that I see you do, that's what comes to mind, SNL. I'll watch you and I'll be like, that's an SNL skit, or that fits in with SNL. So I see it.
Thank you. I
Yeah. Okay. So here's a a real deep question for you here.
sure.
You are gorgeous. You are funny.
Thank you.
You're a really talented singer.
Thank you.
So why is Erika Smith not a household name in
Because
your?
it's really hard. There's like a million people in the union. There's a million people trying for like, this many spots in the household of names. Um,
Mm,
so uh, I'm a working actress,
yeah.
and that's my dream. I mean, sure, when you're a kid, you want to be famous. That's part of the dream. But um, but I'm happy to be a working actress, and I get to do some really fun and interesting things.
Hmm.
So it's not. I mean, hey, there's still time to be a household name. Who knows?
No, for sure. For sure. And I mean, and perspective changes as you get older. I mean, there's things that, I mean, when you're younger, why not shoot for, the furthest star and then, see what you bump into along the way. And being a working actress is great. But I just, like I do, there's people, like I said, that in a lot of the films that I've seen, in the indie world, you know why they're in the indie world for so long. I mean, it's a niche that they've carved out for themselves, and that's all great. But every once in a while, there's someone where you're like, well, that one's got it, and that's why I ask. And it's not like, I mean anything by it, but I just, I think that I would love to see you in, some more mainstream big things, and I'm sure you would like that too.
Well, I'm working on it. I've developed a pilot that for myself that's drama. It's a drama with dark comedy and music. So I've been working on that. I've got a music project that I'm pitching to Warner Brothers right now. So
Nice. Nice.
I've got a lot of things in the works. I'm still trying and fighting for that.
Yeah. Cool. So are you a Disney fan?
Growing up, I was. I wouldn't say that I paid a lot of attention to what they're doing
Okay,
now.
because I follow you. Yeah, I follow you on social media and stuff like that, and every once in a while you'll pop up as a princess or whatnot. So you have multiple talents, and I hope you don't mind me bringing this up. But every once in a while, you're a princess, or you're an entertainer, impersonating. So can we talk about that?
Yeah, so that's one of my survival jobs that I started doing about 10 years ago. Got sick of waiting tables, and I had the opportunity to be an impersonator and impersonate Marilyn Monroe for these shows and casinos with the Rat Pack. So they would have they would recreate one of the old Rat Pack shows with Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. do this 90-minute show, and Marilyn would come on and do 20 minutes, and so I started working with them, and then that job blossomed into doing like parties for people in restaurants and my own shows, and I got to travel to Dubai and Egypt and China doing shows as Marilyn Monroe, and then even small things like singing telegrams.
Yeah.
And so from there, I was very successful doing Marilyn, and my agents started calling me like, hey, can you do Gaga? Can you do Katy Perry? And so I started doing other entertainers as well. And that kind of fit in really cool with my comedy because I started studying at the Groundlings and doing character comedy. And I was like, oh, hey, this all kind of fits together. So at the Groundlings, which is for, I don't know if people realize, but the Groundlings is where a lot of SNL people started. They want you to create original characters. So that's what you're seeing sometimes on my social media. I'll throw on a wig and make up a song and kind of do that kind of thing. Or you'll see me getting ready for a gig and doing like a 7-year-old's birthday party as Katy Perry, and I'll shoot a little something and throw it on my social media. So that's probably what you're seeing.
Yeah, and I've seen your Marilyn Monroe, and it's really 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 good.
Thank
So
you.
I want to ask, who do you believe you do better, Marilyn Monroe or Britney Spears?
Oh, that's they're very similar in a way. They both have that sensuality and that innocence. But and I grew up loving them both. Like I said, I loved watching old movies, so I grew up watching Marilyn, and then Britney. I just started doing the last couple of years. She's kind of a new character for me. She's so fun.
You do. I'm not going to put you on the spot to say do an imitation, but if you want to do one, you can. But you do such a great job at it's really funny.
Wait, let me do. I'll do Britney. Oh yeah.
There was one where you were. It was just recent too, where you were getting a drink or something, and you were talking about driving home or something like that, and I was dying. Anyways,
I played Britney Spears on. There's a Netflix show called Hentified with America that America Ferrera produces, and shit, I gotta remember to put that on my IMDb. So they had a scene where the two leads go to a costume party, and there's all of these people that they think are the real celebrities, but they are impersonators. So I played Britney on that. So driving home from set, that's what you saw. I was like had a hankering for ice cream. So
that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Pudding instead.
All right. So if you're watching this, you gotta track down Erika Smith doing Britney Spears wanting ice cream. It's really really funny. So you worked on The Irishman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there we go. Now we're talking about a career arc here. I mean, what was that like?
Well, I just had a featured this tiny little part because my friend Catherine Narducci, she played Carrie Buffalino, Joe Pesci's wife in the movie. She was one of the leads, and she got me on the movie. So
that's cool.
What's
Did you get to
that?
work with? Did you get to work with Scorsese or?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so you got.
Scorsese, Pacino, De Niro, Harvey Keitel, Bobby Cannavale,
Wow,
Pesci. All those guys were there. It was crazy.
that's awesome. Or was that a moment where you're like, wow, look at me now,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
it was. It was incredible. It was like, especially Pacino. One of the scenes we were doing was the rally for the Teamsters, and he had a big speech he had to do, and every time he did it was different. He would like improvise to get into the mood
Yeah.
beforehand, and just watching him work. I mean, that man is what, 78 years old,
Yeah, he's up there.
and he was just so good. I'm like, oh wow, like this is. It reminded me of what we learned in acting school, which I don't get to utilize that
Yeah.
much. You know?
Okay, so okay, let's use that for an example. And do you, because like I'm always, like you my insecurities, I always feel like I don't belong, or like, I'm out of my league or whatever. Are you on set like that? Are you looking around saying I belong, or whoa, this is next level?
Most of the time, I feel like I belong, especially if I have like a substantial part,
Mm-hmm.
because I will have prepped that part and I'll be ready, and I get
Yeah.
great feedback, and I know what I'm doing, and so that feels really good.
Yeah.
Um, but then other times, if I have like a really small part and I'm around names and stuff, sometimes I will feel insecure, but um, I have to fight that, and I have my ways of doing. Like just before this interview, as I was getting ready, I was listening to like positive affirmations just to remind me to be confident, and all of that. So I listen to those several times a week.
Yeah.
Not that I felt insecure to do this interview, but
I'm pretty intimidating. I get it a lot.
but that's something that I do to make sure that I stay confident. You know.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Was Pacino the eye opener in your career? Have you worked with someone else like that where you're like, whoa, that was an experience, or was he the one?
I remember working. That was amazing. I did a movie called The A Plate that was so much fun, and there were some not household names. Priscilla Barnes, and
Okay.
who was on Three's Company.
Yeah, yeah. Favorite show?
Yeah, watching her work was cool because we were all working on the film for several days before she came on, and we had kind of built a little, rapport with all the actors. And she came on like a fucking whirlwind. And she was like talking to the director, like she was working with the director. She's like, I want to do this. What do you think of this? Can
Hmm.
we do it like this? And she was really taking charge.
Yeah.
And seeing that, I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I'm a big Three's Company fan, so it was a cool little story to get in there. Have you ever dated any big Hollywood names that we would know?
I don't think I have.
No.
I'm trying to remember. I don't think so.
Putting you on the spot. That was not a fair question, but I had to go there because it's a fun one. If you had someone, you'd be like, ah, yeah, DiCaprio.
I'm trying to think. I mean, no. I mean, I've dated some people that probably you wouldn't have heard of, but other people in the entertainment world.
All right. Is there anything in your career that you think you would do differently now, looking back?
No, I like my path.
Nice.
I like the path that I've taken. I think I've gotten to do a lot of interesting things, and having an easier path wouldn't make me a more interesting person. And everything that I've experienced all feeds me and what I bring to my work and my roles. And I have faith that I will get a bigger platform, and I will get a bigger role, and I will be able to bring everything that I've experienced to that. And I like the kind of roles that I'm auditioning for now. They and also in my music too. It's like
Hmm.
the music that I'm working on. You bring all of those experiences to
Yeah.
what you do, and it makes you interesting. I mean, another path would be to have had the confidence to really like tell my parents I want to be an actor and pursue that, like go to an acting school like Carnegie Mellon or
Hmm.
Yale. I mean, that's so those they're so expensive though. Those that's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But
They're
like if I had gone that path, then they have a showcase and you get introduced to an agent really young and you're taken more seriously. That would
yeah.
be an option that I would
Yeah.
maybe do differently if I
Right.
had the choice.
Okay, so then flip that around moving forward. If you and just throw it out there, like, what would be your dream gig?
Um, for my pilot to be picked up and I get to play the role that I wrote for myself,
Nice.
which
Right.
is she's a really like um, she's troubled. She's trying to be her best she can be, but she's like fighting these demons, and she's an aspiring musician. So I get to sing, and it's funny. She's a real smart ass. So I that is cool. Is a cool role to play, and then being a TV series, I like that because you get to build this character over time,
Hmm.
and it's a steady job.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. I always thought that, like, being on a show has to be the dream job, because it's steady work. Like even a soap opera, like a soap opera is like, I mean, you work Monday to Friday, but um, so acting over singing if you had to choose.
No, I want to do both.
But if you had to choose, which one would you go with?
Oh, well, I've always felt this way that it would be acting because I think I'm more talented as an actor than a singer. Don't tell Warner Brothers.
No, I mean, I've heard you sing, and I mean, you've got the pipes. You're good at both.
But I've always idolized like people like Frank Sinatra and
Yeah.
and Cher and J Lo now.
Hmm.
People that do both. They're entertainers.
All
So
right. Yeah, and why not follow in those footsteps? Those are pretty good footsteps. Do you attend conventions and all that kind of stuff?
I used to.
Yeah.
I haven't been asked to in a while. EI Pop Cinema used to hire me to come to the conventions and sign
Yeah.
the DVDs and posters and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are fun. They're long hours though.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so okay, you said you love old films, and so do I.
You? Like
Yeah, I'm a film buff, but my background is film. So I did study it. So give me some of your faves.
uh I love films from the 30s like It Happened One Night.
Okay.
You know that one?
Yeah, I know. I've never seen it, but I do know it.
And My Man Godfrey and 20th Century and It's a Wonderful Life
Yeah.
and Casablanca, of
Hmm.
course.
Yeah.
I love all of Humphrey Bogart's films, The Big Sleep, um, Key Largo, As Once with Lauren Bacall, all of the Marilyn movies, especially the Marilyn musicals like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and Some Like It Hot.
So you need
Um,
a role like that.
which one?
Any you need like a classic Hollywood actress role. I think that would be perfect for you. You got the look too, though. That's the thing. Like you've got it's calling for you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see. Yeah, like I mean, I do love a lot of the old films, and I have seen a lot of the old films. But of course with me it's like, Frankenstein and King Kong and Dracula and a lot of the older Universal monster films. But of course I've loved the growing up with some of the classics from the day.
What
And
about
so
Freaks?
sorry,
Freaks.
sorry,
That
what was
movie
that?
Freaks.
Freaks?
You didn't see that?
No.
For a horror movie buff, you got to go see Freaks. Oh my
Freaks.
God.
Okay. Wow, you called me out.
You'll love it. It's creepy. I'm
Really?
gonna look it up and see who directed it.
Okay.
It's Real Circus Freaks. It's black and white. Freaks.
Were you a Hitchcock fan?
Damn, I don't want to. Freaks. No. There's been a lot of Freaks movies.
I would figure. There was one recently, I think. That's what I was thought. When you said it, I thought that's what you meant. And
yeah.
Wait, I thought you were like, screw you, I'm not talking about old movies anymore. Let's talk about Freaks.
Wait, the Freaks old film. 1932.
Oh, wow.
It's directed by Todd Browning.
Oh, well, he did Dracula.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
Really?
It's so good. It was MGM put it out.
MGM. Okay. All right. I got to check that. Thank you. Look at that.
You're welcome. Oh my God. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry. I tried Hitchcock. Yeah. I liked Hitchcock. I liked Spellbound with Gregory Peck and Ingrid Bergman. And of course, Birds and Rear Window.
What were you? Did you? I personally, I think Grace Kelly is like the greatest looking woman that has ever lived. So like I could watch anything with her in it. So I guess she's my Marilyn Monroe, but I do love Marilyn Monroe as well. But Grace Kelly is the one for me.
I was just reading about her. I was so intrigued how she quit acting at like what, 26?
Was it 26? I knew she quit. That was young.
Yeah, really young. She'd already made her mark, and she became Princess of Monaco and died so young and tragically at 50.
Yeah, car crash.
Yeah,
that was sad. It was, wow. I didn't realize she was that young because she made a lot of movies. Wow, she made a lot of movies before she was 26. Then I guess. Yeah, big fan of her. But honestly, I personally think you're a really, really great talent. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I wish you all the blessings and success in the world. And I do think it'll come. Thank you for joining me. What's next for you?
Let's see, what is next? Pitching my pilot, and I am developing this project with Warner Brothers. Hopefully we have a meeting on Tuesday, and just auditioning for stuff. I'm trying to think if I have any projects. IMDb says I have like 6 projects in development that I have not heard about. So,
that's okay. Free advertisement.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, honestly, I really enjoyed talking with you. I thought, I do enjoy watching you on screen, and like I said, and I know I'm going to see plenty more of you. Anything you want to say before we cut out?
Just thanks for watching this podcast. Thanks for watching all the films and stuff. Thanks for your interest, and thanks for having me, Jason, on the podcast. This is really fun. I love talking about my career. It makes me feel good to remember everything that I've done, and really good that people are interested in that at all. So
yeah, no, I mean, I thank you. Honestly, it was a real treat talking to you. And if you, like I said, if you haven't seen Erika in a film, definitely get on it, because she's a real talent, and you will hear her name. You'll hear her name. You'll know her face by the. Well, I don't want to sound like a psychic here, but that's how much faith I have in you. Thank you so much for joining me. And that's all for this episode of the Slices podcast with Jason Pelligra. See you soon.